turf, Brees
You know better.
Bronco safety John Lynch
You know better.
in, and as Brees hit the ground, Denver lineman Gerard Warren fell on top of him. In that instant, his throwing shoulder was shredded. The result was a torn labrum and rotator cuff damage. It was so bad, some doctors. Gerard Warren,
Oh my
John
God.
Lynch crashed in, and as Brees hit the ground, Denver lineman Gerard Warren fell
Oh,
on top of him. In that instant, his throwing shoulder.
What's good, YouTube? I'm back with another YouTube video, bruh. And today, my nigga, we got meet the most accurate quarterback in NFL history. And my nigga, I'm guess they talking about Drew Brees, my nigga. I'm not gonna lie, yeah, Drew Brees, he one of the ones. I'm not gonna lie. I remember watching the Saints and Rams playoff game. I was downstairs. What was it, like 8th grade year, 7th grade year, bro? Dean really got hold, bro. And I also seen Stephon Diggs miracle shit too. I ain't gonna lie, I seen some iconic moments on live on TV. But y'all remember the 2018 finals, bro? When Curry hit that little buzzer beater from like damn near half court or some shit like that, bro. My mama called my name, bro. I was so mad, bro. What, bro? I'm watching the game, bro. But yeah, bro, I don't got too much to say, bro. If you new here, bro, leave a like, comment, subscribe down below. Follow me on my social on the screen, next to in the description as well. On the road to 800 subscribers, bro. Can we get to 800 subs, bro? Please. And let's get like 5 likes in this video. Yeah, let's get into this big. Oh.
When Drew Brees entered the NFL,
a
a 60% completion rate was considered elite. By the time he retired,
I ain't gonna lie to you, I am geeked.
The bar had been raised to 70% because of him. He also owned the highest career completion percentage in NFL history, had 7 seasons above 70%, and set the single-season record at an absurd 74.4%. While the NFL often celebrates rocket arms and highlight reel bombs, Brees mastered something far more dangerous, the art of surgical passing. Over 80,000 passing yards, a Super Bowl that revived a city, and an entire generation of quarterbacks were forced to chase a new standard he created. And yet, despite everything he accomplished, Brees is often left out when discussing the greatest QBs of all time. So why doesn't he get talked about as often as he should? And why does the most accurate passer the game has ever seen still feel underrated? Drew Brees was never supposed to be an NFL legend. In fact, growing up in Austin, Texas, most people didn't even think he'd make it past high school football. Sure, his dad was a former basketball player at Texas A&M, his mom was an all-state track star, and his uncle, Marty Akins, had once been an All-American quarterback at Texas. Brees, he was skinny and undersized. And when he tore his ACL as a junior, many assumed his football career was over.
That's
before
him?
it really ever began. But that moment defined him. He attacked rehab, determined not just to come back, but to dominate. And dominate he did. His senior year in 1996 was one of the greatest high school seasons
I'm not gonna lie, this era in high school football not talked about enough. He's not
ever seen. Brees threw for over 3,500 yards, 31 touchdowns, and led Westlake to a flawless 16-0 record and a state championship. Along the way, he shredded defenses, completing more than 63% of his passes, and outdoing future NFL players, including running back Dominic Rhodes in the title game. But despite all of that, college recruiters barely gave him a look. At just 6 feet tall, he didn't fit the prototype. He wasn't the biggest, he didn't have a rocket arm, and scouts doubted his upside. He was named Texas 5A Offensive Player of the Year, earned honorable mentions on national All-American lists, and still his dream schools Texas and Texas A&M never came calling. In the end, Brees only received 2 offers, Purdue and Kentucky. He chose Purdue, not because it was a football powerhouse, but because of its academics. Nobody could have guessed that decision would completely rewrite Big Ten history. As a freshman, Brees barely saw the field, but by his sophomore year, head coach Joe Tiller handed him the keys to the offense, an unorthodox spread attack nicknamed basketball on grass. And the moment Brees took over, everything changed. In just his second season, he tied an NCAA single-game record with 55 completions against Wisconsin and set the record.
It's like, I'm not gonna lie. Wait, didn't this nigga go to the Chargers? But I'm not gonna lie, this gold and black, bro, this nigga chased his ass his whole career.
Attempts in one game, a mark that stood 15 years. Then, as a senior, Brees led the Boilermakers to unforgettable wins over Ohio State and Michigan, snapping a 33-year drought and clinching Purdue's first Rose Bowl appearance since 1967.
What?
That year, he won the Maxwell Award as the nation's most outstanding player, finished third in the Heisman voting, and cemented
Drew.
himself as one of the most decorated quarterbacks in college football. By the time he left West Lafayette, he owned 2 NCAA records, 13 Big Ten records, and 19 Purdue records.
Okay.
With over 11,700 passing yards, 90 touchdowns, a 61.8 completion percentage, and a reputation as one of the smartest, toughest, and most accurate quarterbacks in the country. And yet, despite everything he accomplished, scouts still said the same things they always had. Too short, arms not strong enough, not NFL caliber talent. And at the combine, his numbers didn't silence anyone either. He measured in at 6 foot and a quarter, 213 pounds,
okay.
a 4.83 40, and a decent 32-inch vertical. Solid? Sure, but nothing that screamed franchise QB. And compared to the hype surrounding Michael Vick, who ran like a running back and threw like a cannon,
Oh, so he
Brees
was okay.
looked mid at best. The Chargers originally held the #1 overall pick in the 2001 draft, and they needed a quarterback. But then the phone rang. The Atlanta Falcons desperately wanted Vick, so San Diego decided to cash in, trading the top pick to the Falcons and sliding down to #5, which was fine because they still needed a quarterback, so Brees at 5 made perfect sense. But the Chargers looked at Brees, then looked away. Instead, they drafted LaDainian Tomlinson, a running back out of TCU. And if that wasn't enough, the first round kept rolling. Team after team passed on Brees. And by the time round 1 was over, Brees was still waiting.
Wow.
Finally, with the very first pick of the second round, 32nd overall, the Chargers circled back.
Oh,
and
wow.
took him. It wasn't the fairy
I can
tale
already
first
say.
round moment he dreamed of. It was more like a consolation prize.
That's some trolling
With the
shit.
story of-
Like, my nigga, I'm not gonna lie, bro. If I was the second round first pick, bro, I mean the first pick of the second round, so I'd have been mad as hell, bro. That's some real trolling shit. Like, y'all niggas couldn't first round me, my nigga. Like, y'all couldn't just slide me to the first round, my nigga. Like, I'd have been mad as hell, bro. Like, now you known as being a second rounder is not bad, but my nigga, I would rather be known as a first rounder. Let's be 1,000, bro. Like, I'm pretty sure all y'all niggas would like to be known as a first rounder than a second rounder. Like, come on. That's lame as hell,
Drew
bro.
Brees' life. Every doubt, every rejection, every time someone told him he wasn't good enough, it all turned into fuel. San Diego may not have believed in him at pick 5. Now he had the perfect chance to make the entire league regret passing on him. So
Yeah.
Brees spent almost his entire rookie season watching from the sidelines behind veteran Doug Flutie. His only action came in week 8. When Flutie
I
went
never
down
heard
with
of-
concussion
I
against
never
Kansas
heard of
City,
that nigga.
Brees stepped in, threw for over 200 yards, and tossed his very first touchdown pass. It was a glimpse of promise, but just a glimpse. By 2002, San Diego gave him the starting job, and at first it looked like they made the right call. The Chargers jumped out to a 6-1 start. Brees was managing games, and the city had hope. But just as quickly as it started, the magic faded. The Chargers collapsed down the stretch, finishing 8-8. And Brees' season ended with 16 interceptions to just 17 touchdowns. And by midseason 2003, fans were booing. The Chargers were 1-7, and Brees had been benched for the very quarterback he once sat behind, Doug Flutie.
Damn.
But Flutie struggled just as badly, and before long, Brees was handed the starting job back. That season, the Chargers finished with the worst record at 4-12, giving them the #1 overall pick in the draft. They could have used it to give Brees more help, but instead, they went after his replacement. First, Eli Manning. Then, after Manning refused to play in San Diego, they traded him
What?
for another quarterback, Phillip Rivers. It seemed like Brees
Where the fuck was I at behind? When the fuck did this? That's possible. I never knew you can do that. Like, are you still able to do that? San Diego, y'all niggas, what could y'all have done to Eli Manning to make that nigga that mad though? Like, thinking about that shit, like, what did y'all niggas do to that nigga, bro? Like, wait, bro. That's crazy.
his time was coming to an end. But with everyone expecting Rivers to take over, Brees refused to give in. That season, he played the best football of his life, throwing 27 touchdowns to just 7 picks, leading the Chargers to a 12-4 record and their first division title in a decade.
Okay.
He won Comeback Player of the Year, made the Pro Bowl, and for the first time, it looked like Drew Brees had carved out his place. Drew was the first guy that meticulously took you apart with how he played the position and made you bleed out by 1,000 cuts. Former NFL quarterback Trent Dilfer said, "It was about being a surgeon, not a butcher." 2005 only built on that momentum. Another Pro Bowl season, nearly 3,600 passing yards, and wins over some of the NFL's toughest
That
teams.
nigga was cooking.
Finally felt like he had survived the storm. But then, in the final game of the season against Denver, everything changed.
Yes, sir.
The turf, Breeze
You know better.
Bronco safety John Lynch
You know better.
crashed in, and as Breeze hit the ground, Denver lineman Gerard Warren fell on top of him. In that instant, his throwing shoulder was shredded. The result was a torn labrum and rotator cuff damage. It was so bad, some doctor Gerard Warren
Oh
safety
my
John
God.
Lynch crashed in, and as Breeze hit the ground, Denver lineman Gerard Warren fell
Oh,
on top.
oh,
In that instant,
oh.
his throwing shoulder was shredded.
That shit
The
nasty.
result was a torn labrum and rotator.
I know that shit is out of place like a bitch. I know that shit out of place like fuck. I know that shit hurts like a bitch. I just can't even put his arm down, bro. As soon as they take, bro. As soon as they take, bro. As soon as they take this nigga's shoulder pads off, bro. All I gonna see is a goddamn Looney Tunes type injury, bro. Swear to God.
Rotator cuff damage. It was
No,
so
I know
some
that
doctors
shit nasty.
questioned if he'd ever throw a football again. And suddenly, the Chargers had a decision to make. Stick with the injured quarterback who had just resurrected his career, or turn the page to the young, healthy first-round pick waiting on the bench.
Phillip
It wasn't a
Rivers?
hard decision. They chose Rivers. So just like that, Drew Brees went from a Pro Bowler to unemployed. Now the question was, would anyone take a chance on him?
No, who the fuck, yo? Blitz. You an evil man, bro.
Two
Evil
franchises
man.
came calling. They both needed a quarterback. Both could change the trajectory of his career, but only one would take the risk. The first suitor was Miami. Head coach Nick Saban
That's
was
crazy.
desperate for a long-term answer at quarterback, and Breeze sat at the very top of his list. On paper, it seemed like a perfect fit. But when the Dolphins' doctors examined his shoulder, they believed the risk was too great. So instead of rolling the dice, Miami pivoted. They turned their attention to Dante Culpepper, trading
Who?
for him and shutting the door on Breeze. A decision that would cause Nick Saban to leave the NFL for Alabama just a year later. That
Damn,
was
so you telling me you was that? You telling me you was that bad that you you made an NFL coach go to college football? Son? There's no way you're that terrible at that sport. No way, bro.
franchise with little stability in a city still reeling from the devastation of Hurricane Katrina. Sean Payton had just been hired as head coach, and he needed a quarterback
That's
to
my
build
head coach,
around.
y'all.
Breeze, broken shoulder and all, became his gamble. And so, against all odds, Breeze signed with the Saints. 6 years, $60 million, a broken
Damn.
quarterback, a broken city, and a coach willing to put his future on the line. From the first night back in the rebuilt Superdome, the atmosphere was electric. Week by week, Breeze started to show flashes that silenced all the doubts. A 314-yard, 3-touchdown performance against Tampa. A
Okay.
career-high 510-yard explosion against Cincinnati. At the time, the 6th most in NFL history. A 5-touchdown demolition of the Dallas Cowboys in prime time. By season's end, Breeze led the entire league in passing yards with 4,418,
Ooh.
earned All-Pro honors, and was even a runner-up for MVP. But more importantly, he had transformed a team that finished 3-13 the year before into a 10-6 division
Okay.
champion. In his very first postseason game with New Orleans, Breeze guided the Saints to a thrilling win over the Eagles, sending them to their first ever NFC Championship appearance. But in Chicago on a frozen Soldier Field, the Bears' defense was relentless, and the Saints' magical run came crashing down. Breeze threw for 354 yards and 2 touchdowns, but costly turnovers and a safety from an intentional grounding call sealed New Orleans' fate in a 39-14 loss. By
Damn.
now, Drew Brees was already the new face of New Orleans. Sean Payton looked like the next offensive mastermind, and fans believed the city's football team was finally ready to chase greatness. However, just when it seemed like the stars were aligning, reality hit hard. The 2007 season opened with 4 straight losses, 3 of them being blowouts. By season's end, Breeze had thrown for over 4,400 yards and broke
Damn.
the NFL record for completions in a season. But those
Damn.
numbers didn't change the final outcome, as the Saints stumbled to a 7-9 finish, nowhere near the playoffs.
Breeze
Then
is
came
not the fault.
2008, and
I mean,
with
not
it,
the problem.
Breeze's masterpiece. Week after week, he carved up defenses with surgical precision, piling up yardage at a pace only Dan Marino had ever matched. By the end of the year, Brees had thrown for 5,069 yards.
Damn!
Just 15 shy of Marino's all-time record. He tied Rich Gannon's record with 10 300-yard games, earned Offensive Player of the Year, and became only the second quarterback in NFL history to cross the 5,000-yard mark. But here's the thing. While Brees was playing
Dan Marino,
at a
you got,
historic level,
bro.
the
You
Saints'
like
defense was collapsing. No matter how many leads he built, they couldn't hold them. The team finished 8-8, missing the playoffs again. But those 2 years revealed something important. Brees wasn't just back from injury. He was better than ever. And as the frustration in New Orleans grew, something was brewing beneath the surface. Because in 2009, the city, the team, and Drew Brees were about to reach heights no one thought possible. In Week 1 against Detroit, Brees threw 6 touchdown passes. The very next week, 3 more, as the Saints steamrolled the Eagles. Against the undefeated Giants in Week 6, Brees was untouchable. 23 completions on 30 throws, 4
Damn.
touchdowns, and a passer rating that was nearly perfect. And when adversity finally hit, they didn't fold. In Miami, the Saints dug themselves out of a 24-3 hole. Win after win piled up. Atlanta, Carolina, New England, where Brees absolutely dismantled a Bill Belichick defense with 5 touchdown passes and a flawless passer rating. By
Damn.
December, the Saints were 13-0. The Superdome wasn't just loud, it was shaking. The city had wrapped its arms around this team.
Okay,
Brees
Drew.
carried that energy. Sure, they stumbled at the finish line, dropping their final 2 games. But with the #1 seed in the NFL already locked up, no one cared. New Orleans had never seen a team like this. And it came at a time when the city so desperately needed something to believe in. The regular season had been magic, but everyone knew legacies weren't built in September or October. For Drew Brees and the Saints, the real test was January. The divisional round brought the Arizona Cardinals to town, fresh off their own wild playoff win. But from the opening snap, New Orleans made it clear there would be no shootout this time. Well, at least not for the Cards. Brees carved up their defense for 3 touchdowns as the Saints hung 45 points on Arizona. Then in the
Damn.
NFC Championship against Brett Favre and the Minnesota Vikings.
Ooh,
Every
I know
possession
it's a
was
hard game.
chaos. Turnovers, hard hits, momentum swinging back and forth. Favre, battered but unrelenting, kept dragging the Vikings down the field. Brees, steady as ever, answered with 3 touchdown passes. Then late in the 4th, with the game tied, the Vikings had a chance to end it. They were in field goal range when Favre rolled out looking for one last dagger. Instead, he threw across his body straight into the arms of Saints cornerback Tracy Porter.
You
The
threw
game
that
went into
shit?
overtime, and when Garrett Hartley's 40-yard field goal sailed through the uprights, the impossible became real. New Orleans Saints were going to the Super Bowl. And that's where they met Peyton Manning and the Colts. The matchup looked lopsided.
That
on paper.
nigga right there, boy, he one of the
Playoff-tested
ones.
Colts versus the franchise that had never been there before. Early on, the Saints fell behind, but Sean Payton had a card to play. One that would go down as one of the boldest gambles in NFL history. To open the second half, he called for an onside kick. The risk was insane. Fail and Manning gets the ball at midfield, but the Saints executed it perfectly, recovering it and causing the tide to turn. Drew Brees went to work. He completed 32 of 39 passes, tying a Super Bowl
Damn.
record. Late in the 4th, with the Lombardi Trophy on the line, he rifled a pass to Jeremy Shockey to give New Orleans the lead. And then, history. Tracy Porter jumped Manning's pass, sprinting the other way for a pick
That's
6 that
crazy.
sealed the game. The Saints were Super Bowl champions, and Drew Brees was named Super Bowl MVP. But the real victory was what it meant. Just 4 years after Hurricane Katrina devastated the city, Brees stood on that podium, confetti raining down, holding his
crazy.
baby boy in one arm and the Lombardi in the other. It wasn't just about football. It was about hope, and a city that had been counted out, just like Brees himself, finally rising to the top of the world. But Brees was far from done. Coming off that Super Bowl, the Saints entered 2010 with a target on their backs. They weren't the lovable underdogs anymore. They were the hunted. And Drew Brees carried the pressure of proving the championship wasn't a one-time miracle. And he delivered. 7 different games with 300-plus passing yards, a 6-game winning streak late in the year, and another 11-win season. But in the playoffs, fate sent them to Seattle. What should have been a routine wild-card matchup against a 7-9 team turned into the game forever remembered for the Beastquake. Brees threw for over 400 yards and kept the Saints alive until the very end. But Marshawn Lynch was unstoppable, and he ended the New Orleans season. In 2011, Brees dissected defenses with surgical precision. By mid-season, he was already shattering benchmarks, becoming the first quarterback in history to eclipse 4,000 yards in
Damn.
only 12 games. And by December, the inevitable happened. Dan Marino's 27-year-old single-season passing record finally fell. And when the dust settled, Brees had posted 5,476 yards,
Damn,
36 touchdowns,
it was about
and
time.
an unheard of 71.2% completion rate. Those were numbers that forced the league to rewrite what greatness meant. You could put every quarterback in the league on the same field and tell them to throw all of the same routes, and you were just going to notice something different about the way Drew places the football. When and where, said former NFL quarterback Luke McCown. The Saints stormed to a 13-3 record, and in the playoffs, Brees put up nearly 500 yards in one game, 462 in another. It felt like destiny was bending in their direction. Until San Francisco. In one of the most dramatic finishes in playoff history, Vernon Davis's last-second touchdown catch ripped it away. Brees had just authored one of the best seasons ever by a quarterback, and still, heartbreak found him at the final whistle. Then came 2012, a year that tested far more than football. The Saints were rocked by Bountygate, a scandal where the NFL accused New Orleans of running a bounty system that paid defensive players for injuring opponents.
What?
Thing in the world to make sure we kill Frank Gore's head. We want him running sideways. We want his head sideways.
That's
Because of that,
crazy.
Sean Payton was suspended for the entire season, the harshest punishment ever handed to a head coach. Overnight, the Saints were leaderless. They opened the season 0-4. And yet, in the middle of that chaos, one constant remained: Drew Brees. That season, Brees broke Johnny Unitas's legendary 47-game touchdown streak, a record untouched for over 50 years, and he stretched it to 55. And even without his head coach, he once again crossed 5,000 yards, proving that no scandal, no suspension, no storm could stop it. And by 2013, stability returned. Sean Payton was back on the sideline, and with him, the Saints regained their edge. Brees wasted no time in reminding everyone who he was, posting another 5,000-yard season, his fourth at that point, while no other quarterback in history had even managed two. He became the fastest to 50,000 career passing yards as the Saints went 11-5 and stole a road playoff win in Philadelphia, but once again fell short against Seattle in the end. One truth became impossible to ignore: the Saints lived and died by Drew Brees. No matter the obstacle, no matter the chaos, his accuracy and resilience kept New Orleans among the NFL's elite. But here's the thing: football isn't a one-man sport, and no
It's
matter
not.
how sharp
It's a
Brees
team
was,
sport,
his
nigga.
defenses were horrible. In 2014, the Saints went 7-9, but what hurt more was that they lost 5 games by just one score. It didn't matter that Brees was breaking records in completion percentage or that he tied for the league lead in passing yards with nearly 5,000. Each game felt like he was trying to win a shootout. In 2015, the Saints again stumbled to 7-9. But this time, Brees was playing through a torn plantar fascia, an injury so painful most quarterbacks won't even suit up. And somehow, even on a bad foot, he still threw for nearly 4,900 yards, 32 touchdowns, and even tied an NFL record with 7 touchdown passes in a single game against the Giants.
Damn.
Then 2016 was a season that perfectly
frying that
captured the
defense.
paradox of Drew Brees. He threw for over 5,200 yards, led the league in passing again, added 37 touchdowns, and completed 70% of his
Hold
passes.
on.
It was his
This nigga do with these 5,000-yard seasons is not. Wait, that shit not normal, bro. That's not normal.
career 5,000-yard season. Let's put that in perspective.
There go Von
At the
Miller.
time, every other quarterback in NFL history combined had just 4. But once again, the Saints finished 7-9. Drew Brees.
Bro, this nigga
leading
getting
out.
sold.
In
Bro, I ain't gonna lie,
2017,
bro.
got just that.
This nigga Drew Brees, y'all know when y'all playing like park with randoms, my nigga, you the only good nigga on your team, and you carrying your team, bruh, and y'all niggas still losing, bruh. This what this nigga Drew Brees is. This nigga Drew Brees is a 99 overall, elite 3, 6 foot play shot with sharp takeover, playing with 2 fucking rookie ones, bruh. Like, this nigga is carrying these niggas, bro. Like, what the hell?
For the first time in a long time, the Saints felt balanced. They drafted Alvin Kamara, built an offensive line that could actually protect Brees, and finally had playmakers on defense, like rookie Marshawn Lattimore and veteran Cameron Jordan. Suddenly, Brees didn't have to carry the entire weight of the franchise on his right shoulder anymore. And after stumbling to an 0-2 start, the Saints rattled off 8 straight wins. And Brees set a new single-season record with a 72% completion rate. By December, he had joined the 70,000-yard club. and led New Orleans back to the playoffs for the first time in years. And once they got there, Brees looked as sharp as ever, carving up Carolina in the wild card round.
Yeah.
But next up was Minnesota, a tense back and forth war.
This is the game I was watching live. I was watching this
With
game.
just seconds left, the Saints had clawed their way into the lead and stood on the brink of a trip to the NFC Championship, 10 seconds away from survival, 10 seconds away from a miracle of their own. What should have been Brees' triumphant playoff return instead became the Minneapolis Miracle, one of the most heartbreaking walk-offs the NFL had ever seen.
That's
now,
crazy.
most quarterbacks, especially at 38 years old, don't get many more shots after heartbreak like that. But Drew Brees wasn't finished. In fact, in
You want another
2018,
one?
he somehow got even better. That season, he completed 74.4% of his passes, an NFL record that still exists, as the Saints finished 13-3, locked up the #1 seed, and powered their way back to the NFC Championship. Against the Los Angeles Rams.
Oh, yeah,
it
this
was another
game's over.
hard
That shit, I
fought.
hated this
With under
game.
2 minutes left, the Superdome was shaking. Drew Brees had just hit Ted Ginn Jr. for a 43-yard bomb.
Look at that shit. I was
The
a
Saints
dog,
at the Rams'
nigga.
13-yard line. This was it. The moment New Orleans had been waiting nearly a decade for.
Breeze.
Look at that. Damn. Like, do y'all not see that shit? Like, look at this shit. My nigga, that's at least 25 to life, bro. At least 25 to life. Like, I'm surprised. Like, bro, this nigga also gets a Death Row documentary as well, my nigga. There's no way y'all ain't. This not no flag. This is not what?
Had been waiting nearly
No
a
way
decade.
this shit not a flag. Look at this shit. No fucking way, bro. Are we serious? He just hit the fuck out that nigga, bro. Hell nah, bro. See, not gonna lie, bro. These niggas better than me, cause my nigga the Rev would have had to see me. I would, bro. What? I would have made sure a flag was gonna be on that field at the end of the fucking day, cause the Rev was gonna have to see me. Fuck you talking about? That shit crazy.
Everyone saw it. A Rams defender barreled through Lewis before the ball ever arrived. Clear as day. Obvious.
Let me see that, Rev.
Lewis before the ball ever arrived.
What is going on in your eyes, gang? What is going on in these niggas' eyes? Like, bro, what's up, bro?
Clear as day. Obvious. Unmissable. Even the defender was looking for the flag. Except that flag never came. So instead of going for the win, the Saints had to settle for overtime. And in a cruel twist, their season was ripped away by the NOLA no call. A year later, disaster struck. Brees tore a ligament in his thumb on his throwing hand,
Damn.
forcing him to miss 5 games of the 2019 season. But instead of walking away, Brees returned in late October and immediately looked like himself, picking apart defenses with his trademark accuracy. And then came Week 15 against the Colts. On Monday Night Football, Brees delivered one of the greatest performances of his career. 29 completions on 30 attempts, an NFL record 96.7% completion rate with 4 touchdowns.
What?
The Saints stormed to a 13-3 record. And in the wild card round, with the season on the line, Brees pieced together a clutch 7-play drive in the final minutes to set up a game-tying field goal and force overtime. But it wasn't enough, as New Orleans lost in overtime 26-20.
What?
And Brees, now 42 years old, was running out of time. In 2020, the Saints opened against Tom Brady's brand new team, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. And Brees led a clean, efficient performance in a 34-23 win over Brady in his debut with Tampa. A few weeks later, the two would meet again. And this time, Brees lit up the scoreboard, throwing 4 touchdowns in a stunning 38-3 beatdown.
Damn.
Football has a cruel way of humbling even the greatest. Because in Week 10...
I'm not gonna lie, this nigga Drew Brees low-key on Tom Brady.
Brees absorbed a hit that left him gasping for air. What doctors later found was almost unthinkable. 11 fractured ribs and a collapsed lung. Most players
Damn.
wouldn't even think about coming back. But for Brees, there was no decision to make. This was his team, his city. He had to fight to return. 4 games later, battered but unbroken, he stepped back onto the field against the defending champion Kansas City Chiefs. He wasn't perfect, but his toughness alone lifted the Saints. And on Christmas Day against the Vikings, in front of a national audience, Brees crossed yet another milestone, becoming the first quarterback in history to throw for 80,000 yards. New Orleans rolled to its 4th straight division title. And suddenly, the story felt like it was building towards something special. The playoffs carried that weight. First came Chicago in the wild card round, a steady workmanlike win. Then the divisional round, fate had drawn a matchup too perfect to ignore. Drew Brees versus Tom Brady, two legends. The stage was set for a classic. Brees fought, but his arm betrayed him. Passes that once sliced through defenses instead fluttered into the wrong hands. 3 interceptions later, the scoreboard read 30-20. After the game, Brees.
Never mind. Hey,
he tossed a
when it's time, bro. When it's time to step up, bro. Tom Brady gonna win.
Football to his kids, smiling, soaking it all in. All of a sudden, the city knew it was watching his goodbye. A few weeks later, soaking it all in, Brees lingered on the field. He tossed a football to his kid, 20 Buccaneers. After the game, Brees lingered on the field. He tossed a football to his kids, smiling, soaking it all in. All of a sudden, the city knew it was watching his goodbye. A few weeks later, on March 14th, exactly 15 years to the day he signed with New Orleans, Drew Brees made it official. The man who had rebuilt a franchise, lifted a city from its darkest hour, and rewritten the record books, was retiring. He arrived in New Orleans when the city was broken, when the team was terrible, when hope felt hard to come by. And through sheer precision and perseverance, he gave the people something to rally around. But greatness always comes with a price. 2 decades of throwing lasers against the best defenses in the world left scars that no trophy can heal. Today, the arm that once carved up secondaries is so worn down, he can't even lift it above his shoulder. In fact, when he plays catch with his kids, he has to throw left-handed.
Damn thing, I like
Maybe
6, 7
that's the
sons.
perfect symbol of who.
I mean,
he
hey,
is.
fuck it, nigga.
Never
Might as
the
well.
biggest, never the flashiest, never the fastest, but always the most relentless. A perfectionist who squeezed every ounce of ability out of his frame, and in doing so, rewrote the very definition of accuracy in the NFL. And somehow he's still underrated. The man threw.
Hell no, bro. I'm not gonna lie, Drew Brees one of the ones, bro. Watching this video, bro, really made me realize how this nigga is. I mean, yeah, he been one of the ones, but I didn't know this 5,000. Y'all know I'm not a Saints fan, so I'm saying. But like, damn, nigga, he not is Drew Brees underrated? What? How long has this been going on? I gotta put an end to this shit. I gotta put an end to that scene. There's no way this nigga underrated. Y'all say this nigga underrated? Are we slow? Stupid? Dumb?
More records than almost anyone in history.
What?
He became the most precise passer the game.
How is
has
this
ever
nigga
seen.
underrated?
When people debate the greatest of all time, his name rarely comes up. Why? Because he wasn't throwing no-look passes like Mahomes. He didn't have the cannon arm of Favre, and he wasn't backed by a dynasty.
But he got a ring, though. In my book, my nigga, if you got a ring, my nigga, for a city, you was straight, bro. Especially as a quarterback, bro. You was straight. You good in my book, bro. As long as you got a ring, you good in my book.
Watch Aaron
don't
Rodgers
matter.
run around the backfield for 25 seconds and throw a 70-yard pass across his body on the money for a touchdown. There's a wow factor that is easy for the casual fan to appreciate. That's former Saints right tackle Zach Strief. Drew throws 35 passes in a game, and all 35 of them are within 2 feet of where they were intended to be. You'll walk away from that game going, man, that guy is efficient. But you don't necessarily walk away going, that guy is a freak of nature. Now, in reality, he is absolutely a freak of nature, but the flash is not there for him. That's the irony of Drew Brees. The very thing that made him great, the surgical precision, the consistency, the perfection, was so routine that people took it for granted. And that might be the biggest proof of his greatness. And hey, if you enjoyed this video,
Like my nigga. Y'all niggas, bro, I can't believe you underrated, bro. I can't believe y'all labeling my niggas as underrated. Well, if y'all enjoyed this video, bro, leave a like, comment, subscribe down below. Follow me on all my socials on the screen. There's some link in the description as well. On the road to 800 subs, and I catch y'all boys in the next one. Peace.